We'll be dismantling a Subaru TR580 2012 and up CVT all-wheel drive unit. This is a chain-type CVT and is considered the Gen 2 from the Lineartronic CVT introduced in 2009. There is a sticker on the bell housing to indicate it is the TR580. The oil pan has a silicone RTV seal. The TransTec overhaul kit includes a Duraprene gasket to be used in place of the silicone. Remove the valve body cover and the connector to the valve body wire harness. Note: pay close attention to the cover and do not damage the seal surface, as this may cause a leak upon rebuilding the unit. There is a rubber-coated steel gasket between the cover and case. Remove bolts that hold the valve cover case and begin disassembly. There is no gasket on the separator plates. You'll want to pay close attention to the position of the screens and where they are located. Be careful not to damage the wire harness when removing connections. The large linear solenoids has 3 different sized O-rings on it. The smaller solenoid has no O-rings. Remove 2 bolts from the smaller linear solenoid. Remove the check valves, but note, pay attention to the color-coded spring location. Remove the rest of the valve body screens. The accumulators and check valves all have different springs, so pay attention when you remove them so as not to mix them up. The extension housing can bind when removing it due to 2 bearings and 2 alignment dowels holding it. Again, be careful not to damage the surface. This could cause a leak after the unit has been rebuilt. There is no gasket between the case and the extension housing, only RTV sealant. The output shaft and gears are easily lifted out of the case and set aside. Take note of the sealing ring on the transfer shaft and the output shaft. When the transfer shaft has been removed, take the O-ring and vent cover out of the case. A new paper gasket for the vent cover plate has been included in the TransTec overhaul kit. Simply remove the bolts for the park rod support and remove the pinion shaft gear. After the center case bolts have been removed, separate the case halves. The pulleys have brackets bolted to the transmission, but for sake of time, we have omitted their removal for this video. Once the brackets have been detached, the pulleys can be removed and set aside for later disassembly with a suitable press. Remove chain guides and set aside. Note, position of the cable guides as they are different. The manual valve body must first be removed. Begin removing the bolts from the reverse brake drum and lift it off. There is also a bearing oiler that needs to come off. Once the drum is removed, take the snap ring that holds the clutch out and move the drum to a press to remove the piston. Remove and discard 2 O-rings. Begin removing the bolts from the differential cover, taking note of the individual lengths. Like many other applications, there are different length bolts, and these will need to be replaced in the same holes. Once removed, set the old O-rings aside. Once the differential cover has been removed, take the pinion shaft out, as there are shaft seals that will need to be replaced. There are seals for the pinion shaft placed back to back. The differential preload adjusters will need removed, as they have O-rings on the outer diameter, and the axle seals are pressed into them as well. Remove the bolts in the bell housing that hold the pump cover on and carefully pry it open. Remove the 4 Allen head bolts that hold the pump on and remove it after the chain has been lifted out of the way. There is 1 gasket and 2 O-rings under the pump. Remove the bolts and separate the pump halves. There are no seals inside, but the pump should be inspected for damage.